Welcome back to In Pursuit 360. Today, we're going to be talking about PTSD and law enforcement. Post-traumatic stress disorder. All right, here we go. Welcome back to In Pursuit 360. Today, we're talking about post-traumatic stress disorder, or as somebody once explained it to me, post-traumatic stress damage. It's actually damage that occurs to the brain. And you hear a lot about, I think September is PTSD Awareness Month, and you hear a lot of talk about the military, and I served in the Air Force, and yes, they're coming back from combat zones. I appreciate their service. If it weren't for our wonderful military, we certainly wouldn't enjoy the freedoms that we have today. And they have definitely been involved in a very, very long conflict war, Afghanistan, Iraq. PTSD is very real for them. I'm not trying to take anything away from that. However, the silent one that nobody ever talks about, or very rarely ever talks about, is PTSD awareness in law enforcement. And I think that is extremely overlooked. Not only is it overlooked, but if you're in law enforcement, it's actually looked down upon if you bring up that you even remotely have any of the symptoms of PTSD. I myself didn't even realize it. I went to a counselor and a psychiatrist or a psychologist and was told that I had severe PTSD. I kind of thought it might have been that, but I wasn't sure, so I went and got some help. But whenever I brought some of my thoughts up, or things that I was feeling, or how it's related to things that I had seen or been through, it was kind of blown off. You get the same typical answers. Oh, you'll be fine. Oh, you're tough. You'll get through it. Or that's what we get paid to do. You'll make it. That's what you're built for. As it turns out, the human brain is not developed to deal with traumatic situations over and over and over again. So you get a soldier that's involved in a really bad situation overseas, a big attack, his buddies get killed or his unit gets wiped out or something like that. It's like this major event, or there's a roadside bomb or something like that, and it's this big traumatic thing. Or it's multiple battles, right? It's always gunfire, but it doesn't take gunfire for PTSD to kick in. I have got several things that come rushing back to my mind. A fellow law enforcement officer killed in the line of duty, Jessica Cheney. I brought her up in another video. I can't drive down Route 1 or up I-95 without thinking about her and having flashbacks. I wasn't even there, but her death affected me so much. An 11-year-old that committed suicide that I helped perform CPR on that died. A 3-year-old that got rolled over in a bed, or his older brother rolled over on him by accident and suffocated him. I responded to that call. A suicide freshly occurred. The guy blew his head off with a .44 Magnum. So it's not that it's any one thing, right? It's a combination of all these things. The brain is not meant to handle this kind of trauma over and over and over again. It has trouble enough dealing with it once. So when you think about the law enforcement officers that are out there working every single day, and this is their world, this is supposed to be normal for them. That's the thing. When people look at law enforcement officers driving down the street, it's like they don't think anything about what they do. People get to live in relatively happy land, not having any idea what the officers do on a daily basis. Police officers live their lives in the darkest places of society. That's what their career is. Their career is dealing with the dark side of society. Anything from simple vandalisms to burglaries to assaults, rapes, murders, malicious woundings, suicides, dead on arrivals, just, some poor person that just passed away in their house. I mean, we're the ones that have to go in there. We have to go see that. Just so happened with my department, when I worked for Stafford, if we went to a DOA, we were responsible. The deputy was responsible for investigating that dead on arrival. So it was up to us. We had to, we show up, we get a basic idea of what we have, around the area, and we had to roll the body and inspect the body. We had to do it, not the medics, not the detectives, the deputies. And then if we saw anything that looked remotely suspicious, then we called the detectives in. And the detectives would take it from there. But all that initial stuff was us. We're the ones touching the dead people. We're the one moving their body and feeling the ligature, or God forbid if they've been there for a while, how gross that can end up getting. And it's just not normal. It's not normal for people to deal with that every day. And whenever an officer starts bringing up that he's starting to have issues, or the drinking starts picking up, or they're kind of withdrawn from their loved ones and things like that, everybody's like, oh, well, he just had a bad day. He'll be okay. And the funny thing is, I remember I would come home some nights after some really bad stuff, and my wife would ask me, so how was your day? And I'd be like, oh, it was fine. Anything happened? Well, we had a DOA, or we had a this or a that, no big deal. And I blow it off. What I really should have done is not gone into gross details, but I should have talked to her. I should have told her what was bothering me on some of these calls, especially when it came to the kids that I had to deal with that passed away for one reason or another. Really had some rough times. So real quick, I'm going to throw some numbers at you. I got some notes, so excuse me while I look down at my paper, just to give you some perspective of what's going on here. The U.S. population is approximately 328 million people. There are approximately 800,000 police officers, law enforcement officers in the United States. Of those, 132,000 are federal, whether that be FBI, DEA, ATF, Pentagon Police, Mint Police, all those federal, Capitol Police, U.S. Park Police. 132,000 of them are federal. So that leaves us with 668,000 state, local, and county, which makes it one law enforcement officer to every 491 U.S. citizens. 1 to 491. Now you think about it, New York City, I think, is the largest police department in the country. And they're way outnumbered up there. So they have so many officers that the population in New York City is crazy. So they're way outnumbered up there. Well, that's just even less for the rest of the country. Think about how big the big city departments are and how many law enforcement officers that leaves in ratio to citizens in the rest of the country in the rural areas. So I can tell you the numbers are a lot different. Let's see. Up to 19% of those law enforcement officers have PTSD, or at least have symptoms of PTSD. Up to 19%, which puts us at almost 127,000 law enforcement officers have symptoms of PTSD that are recognized or reported. This isn't all of it. This is just the ones that have either sought help or have asked for help or have talked about it or whatever, or been willing to answer the question honestly, which is probably the biggest key, is who's willing to answer that question. And there are approximately 130 law enforcement officer suicides every year. I can tell you the U.S. Pentagon Police, who really their primary function is force protection of a building. We had 6 or 7 suicides in 9 or 10 years. That's a lot for a federal agency. A federal agency that doesn't go out chasing bad guys, doesn't deal with dead bodies, doesn't deal with suicides and violent crime. And these weren't guys that were there on 9/11 necessarily. So it's not like they were suffering from the PTSD of that. Now, we do have a lot of former military. Could that have had something to do with it? Possibly. I'm going to go ahead and switch hands here. Getting a little tired. So, yeah, possibly it could have been the fact that they're former military. Whatever it is they had going on in their lives. But it doesn't really matter. I mean, one suicide is too much. One suicide of anybody is too much. But, in law enforcement, it's the same thing. People are afraid to ask for help. They think that if they ask for help, if they say they're having trouble, that people will think less of them. They'll think that they're not able to do the job anymore. They're going to get looked down upon. And anybody that does look down upon somebody that brings that up, or somebody that says just toughen up or whatever, why don't you go get some help? Because somebody that's reaching out for help, you can possibly make the difference in that person's life. So some of the things to look out for. They get withdrawn. They don't seem to have the purpose. They don't have the drive. Their sense of humor goes super dark. Their drinking picks up. That is a real popular sign, or a big sign, is they start self-medicating with the alcohol. Something that I did. My drinking got really, really heavy. And my wife kept saying something about it. I was like, oh no, I'm fine. She goes, no, I'm really worried about you. I was like, no, I'm fine. Everything's fine. It's no big deal. Look, I can stop drinking whenever I need to. And anyway, it finally dawned on me. I started getting better when I started talking to my family, when I started talking to my wife, and I went and got some help. It was actually at a National Field Training Officers Conference. Gentleman came up and started talking about PTSD in law enforcement, that I realized it's like, holy crap, that's me. If it's you, I'm here for you. Send me a comment. Send me a way to contact you. I'll private message you. We can talk. I'll be more than happy to talk to you as much as I can. I'm not an expert. I don't know how to fix everything, but at least I can be there to listen. I've been through it, so if I've been through it, maybe I can help you at least find the help that you need. If you think you may know somebody, let me know in the comments. I'll PM you and let you know some things that you can say or do, maybe to help them out, get them some help that they need. Law enforcement officers are out there every day protecting and serving. And if you remember, on a lot of these car doors, it says to protect and serve. But who's protecting them? Who's protecting the law enforcement officers? Who's serving them? Who's taking care of them? I think that's everybody's responsibility out here. I don't wear the badge for law enforcement anymore. I'm on the private side. But I can tell you, I'm here for law enforcement. I'm here for every officer out there on the street, sacrificing, willing to make that ultimate sacrifice. I'm here for you. I'm willing to listen. I'll help any way I can. And I am going to do everything I can to bring more attention to law enforcement PTSD, to make it a nationwide known issue that is not seen as a badge of disgrace. So, to all of you out there, take care of your law enforcement officers in your communities. Take care of each other. I'm here for you. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, leave me some comments, and I'll see you next time on In Pursuit 360. Stay safe out there.